time to do the January 20th, 2026 crossword on Tuesday. And let me just click into this because this is a previous crossword. I am a day late for this. This one is by Jonathan Raxon, um, who might be a newcomer. Yes, a debut by Jonathan Raxon. Okay, I'm excited to see how this turns out. Alright, nice grid here. There's some very long answers here, very well positioned. Oh wow, it's very well, as a constructing feat, I think it's quite impressive to have so many answers so close together in this way. It's very difficult to have a 13, 14, 15, 14, 13 formation like this. Let's take a look at how this is. Okay, a tour overseer for short. Could be a few things. Small bouquets. So the one I'm thinking of is right now is posies. Sort of. I think it's posy could mean like pocket full of posies. I think that means something a bit different, but posy I think is a small bouquet. I don't think that really helps me. Tour overseer for short. Chicago airport code is O'Hare or is it ORD? I think it's O'Hare, but I don't know what ORD stands for. I mean, usually the airport codes don't really have much to do with the actual letters in the name of the airports. Like for example, I know Nashville is BNA, and then the B has nothing to do with it. So I don't know what this is. Is this salmonella? Something manella? Is this sal? Is it literally salmonella? I don't know what kind of Muppet salmonella is representing, but sure. Poker declaration. Um, that you fold, you raise. To set sail is to, I don't know. The S of ABS, automatic brake system. Let's see. Improvises is ad libs, like go off the cuff, go off script. Tour overseer for short. Um, I think that this is talking about PGA, Professional Golfers Association, because I think their sort of tournaments are specifically known as tours, unlike other kind of sport organizations. So what is this? One of a record 30 plus for Beyonce. Well, that looks like it's Grammy. Probably she won a record number 30 plus. And poker declaration. Um, Maybe it's not posies like this. Maybe it's posy. So posy is spelled POSY as opposed to EY. So the plural which should just be like this. That means that this is I'm in, which I guess you would say. Then this becomes embark, to set sail on a journey. Mallorca, por ejemplo. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but this is clearly Spanish, and sort of the answer always mirrors what the clue is saying. Typically, when you have foreign language like this, you want to answer in a foreign language as well. So this is a typical kind of construction. Isla, I think that's the way you would say island in, or isle in Spanish, like that. So in that case, I've seen this as if so, if that's the case. One pitied in a Mr. T in a catchphrase. Oh, I think he says, I pity the fool. Actually, it's funny. I actually just saw a, a video, just like a sort of meme compilation of failed game show answers. And I'm supposed that this is something that's really obvious to a lot of people, but I don't know who Mr. T is. I mean, I know who he is, I know he exists. I don't really know anything about this guy, but apparently he's the one that says he pities the fool. And then I just remember like there was one clip in, or just like one picture in that compilation of this failed "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" question. It was pretty. I think it was meant to be pretty easy, because there were a bunch of other answers like Bill Clinton, Richard Nixon, and all. The question was like, who was the one that says they pity the fool? And apparently the answer should have been obvious, was Mr. T, but even I didn't know what that was. I honestly would have also guessed it was someone like Bill Clinton. So apparently this is supposed to be really easy, or something that a lot of people know, but I didn't know this literally until just like a few hours ago. So it's also an effect of that one effect, Baden-Meinhof effect or something. I think that's what it's called. You just see this information pop up like as soon as you heard of it the first time. Scissors cut is a snip. Words with one's right hand raised. One's right hand raised. What would you do when you're raising? Well, it's also um, It's also words. So is it a collection of collections of words, or is it itself like a two-word phrase? Oh, I think this might be oath. You would say an oath with your hand raised. A short piano piece is a sonatina. Normally it would be a sonata, but a short one is a sonatina. One who's hanging around is a loiterer. I love you in Spanish is te amo. Novel feature of the I don't know that. Visibly disdainful. Disdainful. Sneery? I believe that might be a word. I'm gonna see what this is. Ah, okay. Cleopatra's killer. This one shows up as fairly common crossword fodder. This is asp. It's a kind of Egyptian viper. So then this one I believe would be sneery. Shindig is a party. And this is probably Mary, yeah, because I'm pretty sure this is something related to Jesus. Okay, so alpha, okay, native alphabet that begins with alpha and ends with Zulu. I like how these early weak crosswords always have clues that sort of give you multiple clues, and like someone might recognize alpha as being the first letter and Zulu being less. And you also notice the A and Z, so it's nice. It's quite a kind clue. Follower of T, I believe that would be Rex, and then um, prefix for element number 8. So this is probably talking about oxygen. Then I think he was have things like oxyphenbutazone or something like that. So it's OXY. Then Hellenistic storytelling. I don't know what that is. Oh, let me go back to this. This is clearly this is an airbag. And the Olds Tornado. I know Olds is a kind of mobile. Oldsmobile, I think that's what it was called. The Falcons on scoreboards. Man, I don't know my sports team, so I'm going to skip that. Indian tourist city. I have a feeling I know what this is, but let me just check with other things. Parade spoiler. Well, you might rain on someone might rain on your parade, figuratively meaning like they spoil it for you. Split end, a new wave band whose name sounds like a hair problem. Well, Split End is literally a hair problem. Why does it sound like a hair problem? Is this some kind of pun? I'll come back to this. Star Wars Princess is Leia. And the Falcon on scoreboards, I think this might be Atlanta. So I'm going to go with that. Transport between terminals is I'm thinking terminals as in an airport terminal. So would this be a tram? I'm trying to think of why this would be. I know there are free I know that there are these free shuttles, so maybe tram is similar to that. Take a look at this last one. Hellenistic storytelling. So this Hellenistic is Greek. So I'm just going to put that Greek mythology. Greek mythology. Okay. And this happens to be Agra, which is the city where the Taj Mahal is located. So it is in that respect, it's a popular Indian tourist city. Let's see what else there is over here. American author whose lifespan closely coincided with Halley's comet visits. I think there was definitely it's like a fun fact about this, where I think like at the very end of his life, he said he wanted to just see the Halley's comet one more time. So it's Mark Twain. Then this is East Coast convenience store with a reduplicative name. I have seen this before. It is Wawa, which is clued in some other less satisfying ways. Like, for instance, you might see this clued as what a toddler wants to drink, and then the toddler is saying water as in Wawa, which I haven't heard any toddler actually say, but it is another way to clue it, I suppose. But Wawa, I haven't heard of this East Coast convenience store, but I've definitely seen it in other puzzles. Sarcastic laugh syllable is har, har har. I mean, I only know that because I've seen this like this before. To be behind is to owe. You might be behind in payments. La di da, sure. And what is this? Modern pickup for delivery drivers is Amazon warehouse. And then what is this? Ends? Split ends. Okay, sure. So split ends. I'm suppose that it is somewhat difficult to have these words, like these three-letter words, be sort of, let's just say like legitimate, like English words. But I'll allow it because it is definitely hard to fill a puzzle that has all of these super tight rows next to each other. So let's just carry on. A flatbread from India. Well, you have two choices typically. It's either naan or roti. So, and then also you might sometimes get the clue for Indian flour, which is atta. ATTA. That's also become a very popular word to use in crosswords. Flight night souvenir, fight night souvenir, perhaps. So something you might get after being in a fight night, some kind of scar, maybe like a black eye, a bruise. To not lease is to own something. 180s, okay, UEs, which is also sort of a crosswordish thing. It could be spelled like this. It could also be spelled like this. So we'll just leave it like that. Unappetizing food is slop. Europe's highest volcano. Okay, so I commented about Etna being sort of a random volcano before, but I suppose it actually is a somewhat notable volcano because it's Europe's highest volcano. I was talking about this in relation to Mount Ossa and Ararat, which are more, I would say, like mythologically significant mountains. But all right, let's go with that. Fight Night souvenir is a welt. Okay, sure, that's bit gruesome, but sure, Yui's then. So then what is this? Historic destination for Pueblo pilgrimages. Something Canyon, I imagine. Then what is this? Sports group for Coco Golf, Women's W Tennis Association? It could be. I don't know what this last one is. But what is this? The Grand Canyon. Then this is org. Okay. URL ending for Wikipedia is, of course, it is .org. And then this is a negative logic gate similarly to AND. So neither that nor this. So yeah, that works. Computer whiz is a techie. And then what is drum kit components descended from sock cymbals? Well, okay, I know that. That is hi-hats. Sort of in jazz, those are also the things that kind of keep the pulse and swing and stuff like that. Dusseldorf, denial. This is just sort of kind of common crossword construction for how to say the word no in a certain language. And in this case, Dusseldorf I think is a German city. So this would, of course, no in German is nine. Now, what is this? Just now. I'll come back to that, I think. I don't know that yet. Okay. I think it's nice to be, it's good to be familiar with this name, Enola Holmes, because it's sort of like in a recent shift from, I guess, less pleasant references to Enola, specifically Enola Gay, that one bomber jet. I think crosswords now, whenever they want to include the word Enola, they would refer to Enola Holmes, which is Sherlock Holmes's sister, who I guess has recently sort of become a Netflix series. So it's nice though that there's now a new way to clue Enola that's a less gruesome reference. Any poster on Yelp, essentially. So it's sort of a loose way to describe it, but they are loosely critics. Squirrels hoard are acorns, and they bury them, notably. Skill shared by bats or dolphins is echolocation. When read at two, oh, I'll come back to that later. I just want to look at the rest of these. A group of orcas. Is it a whale pod? I don't know if it's a pod specifically. Let's take a look at this. The west side. Is the left? Sure. Then what is this? Suddenly motivated with under. I don't know. Amen is yes. Okay, just now is newly, like newlywed, just now married. Lit a fire, I think, suddenly motivated with under. So this really should be read as lit a fire under, which means you were suddenly motivated, or you suddenly motivated someone else. Then what is this? Mayberry boy of, okay, let's not look at that. Romeo or Juliet, notably they were teens. So this becomes, I think this is whale pod, because what does this become? Aden, I know that's a port of Yemen. Macintosh or Macintosh component is a core. So that's the computer. I'm not sure what that refers to. Just a Apple, literally just a Macintosh Apple, and this is an Apple computer with a core. All right. Mayberry boy of 60s TV, so I wouldn't know that name directly, but I do know it from crosswords, of course. One parrot famously preparing for a flood is Noah. Many sort of equivalent ways to clue that, but clearly like Noah as Noah's Ark is probably the most famous. Also Trevor Noah, I've also seen him used to clue Noah. D flat equivalent is C sharp. Same note, but just different names. Stuck. It might be in a jam, or in a rut, or in a bind. Well, it doesn't fit here. Let's see what this is. Brita competitor. So some kind of water filter. Competitor of Brita. So I don't know that. Pennzoil competitor. I also don't know what Pennzoil is. That sounds like it's a medication. But let's just look at this. Okay, groups of scouts. So this is troops. Okay, now what is this? Pennzoil competitor. This makes me think this might be STP, which I know is like a kind of fuel company that is sponsored than I think NASCAR. So STP seems like this might be a kind of oil, like a maybe oil for a car. So I'm gonna go with that. Then Brita competitor. Is it pure? Do they spell it like that? I think maybe I have seen this company before, and I remember vaguely they had sort of two dots above the U to make it actually like pronounced like pure. I'm gonna go with that. Okay, so this is a phrase, and I think what goes here is or a lack thereof. So this is a use of a partial phrase, which you might see sometimes. And when I was starting out, it was one of my sort of preferred clues to start out with because or a lack thereof, it kind of helps me. Um, it's one of the easier clues to get for sure. Um, and when I first started out, I would always look for the ones that I knew for sure were true. And every time I saw something like this, where it's sort of a phrase, I always loved fill in the blank clues because of this, because typically they're kind of unambiguous. So or lack thereof, and this becomes stuck in a rut. Yeah, so that makes sense. All right. I also want to look at what this theme is. So echolocation is skill shared by bats or dolphins. So echolocation, when read as two words, what each of these are. So echolocation. So let's take a look at this. So this is okay. Now I okay. I'll explain all of these, but this is I think is really clever because echo means a lot of things. So echo is so these are all things. These four phrases are things where you might find an echo or reference to echo. So in NATO alphabet, the letter E is you would say echo. So the NATO alphabet is a place where you would find echo. Same thing with Greek mythology. Echo was a name of I think a nymph or maybe some kind of demigod, but um, Echo was a character in Greek mythology. And in Amazon warehouses, of course, you would also have Amazon Echoes, which are products that they would sell. And you also most notably have echoes when you say something in the Grand Canyon. So all of these are places where you would have an echo. And I really enjoy how these are all super different interpretations of echo. Um, of course, like these are all by themselves very strong things, like very fun ideas as well. So this is really clever. And I think given the constraints that you have for this grid, like you have all of these that are very tricky to fill, I think that this was a very good fill job as well. And you have quite an easy grid, actually. Well, you have some that are, I suppose, a bit trickier. Like there are a few proper nouns that perhaps a sort of new solver might not get. But I mean, when I first started, I was just looking up things that I wasn't sure of, and like that's totally allowed. Um, yeah. Let's see if there were any perhaps trickier clues that we can look at. Um, I will say I think there is sort of also a kind of trend where if you have harder words in a clue in a grid, you would compensate for that by having a bit more straightforward clues. And I think for the most part, all of these clues are rather straightforward, which is fair for a Tuesday, right? You get these kind of competitors. I do appreciate I think for me, I like it when they're these sort of parallel constructions of clues, especially these ones right next to each other. You can see that these are all clued as competitors, and competitor, like company competitor is a pretty common way that you would clue a company name, sort of by referencing another company, and you would have the a solver infer what the industry is, and then they would find a suitable competitor. And these are all things that um, Brita and at least Pennzoil, in part, I kind of knew what they were about, so that was what really helped me with that. Yeah, split ends. So name sounds like a hair problem. Yeah, so I understand this because split end otherwise would have just been the normal thing. But of course, it is referring to ENDS, so ends, as a way that you can sort of clue that. And they did have to have this explanation to tell you that it is a pun and that this is not actually a real word. Yeah. So I can see that there, like, definitely there had to be some compromises with the way that this was, with the way that the words were chosen. But I think it's totally fair. All of these are things that I would expect a solver with decent enough knowledge to be able to find, with enough patience, of course. Yeah, I really like this. Yeah, I'm a big fan of these kind of themes that have um, entire phrases being reinterpreted in a certain way. And I think echolocation is a perfect way to describe all of these. And these are all really fun things as well, which it's double the fun. Yeah.